Welcome to the WTF Forum. The hosts do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Opinions are their own. This broadcast contains foul language and dangerous ideas. If you need a trigger warning, you are in the wrong place. Now enjoy the show.
Dear partners and friends of
What the fuck?
Forum, a very cordial welcome.
The WTF Forum is a decentralized broadcast network with no governing body of any kind, and is produced and distributed by a loosely affiliated, ever-growing network of rogue, independent content creators. This forum does not, will not, and shall not have any one location, feed, platform, or channel, but shall be shared and multiplied as nature dictates. If any listener of the following proceedings finds themselves offended, they will be asked kindly to go fuck themselves. All right. Welcome to the WTF Forum. We've got a small group for now. We'll see if anybody else hops in, but we've got Rob from Black Labs. What's happening, bro?
Hey, Mike. What's up, man?
Chilling, man. I'm thinking that intro needs a little work. But we're gonna use it for now. Who cares? It's good enough. But I thought we would have at least 3 or 4. So fingers crossed. But for now, we're gonna rock and roll. Who cares? I've actually thought about reaching out and being like, dude, I want to get you on my show, like just you. So we'll see. Maybe that's what we'll use that as our motivation for now. But
maybe that's what it's become.
yeah. Who cares? But yeah, it sounds like you've got a whole lot of shit on the docket. I've got a couple topics, but I think they'll probably overlap. So why don't you tell me what you got, man? I'm curious.
Okay. Have you been watching the situation with Stephen Greer and the half-assed disclosure we've been getting?
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay, so there's a couple of whistleblowers who have surfaced that were talking about one guy, I think his name was, I want to say it was Devereaux. Anyways, he was talking about how he was run out of a site and when he's working, when he's in the Army, or Army, was it Army? Navy? I forget. Anyway, bottom line is he ran across a bunch of contractors. Turns out they were from Raytheon. They were originally going after a UFO, what looked like a UFO landing site. So that's come up recently. A lot of the other podcasts have been hitting that. Usually I don't do UFO stuff anymore because it always gets weird and culty. And if you look at Stephen Greer lately, it looks like he has not been getting his fair share of adrenochrome. It looks like he aged a million years in 5. So I don't know if he took the vaccine or not. That might be. Oh, did I say the V word?
Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
I don't know if he took the dirty V or the dirty D or whatever, some combination of the two. Yeah. And maybe it's affecting him. I don't know, but he really went downhill very quickly. And he's a very health conscious dude. So I'm kind of surprised to see him devolve that way. But here we are. Let's see what else is going on. So there's that situation.
I'll just say, I'm kind of almost burnt out on UFO stuff to where when I hear it come up, I tune out. Like, I don't care. And maybe is that like the intended result of all this shit? I don't know. But the fact that they're talking about it, like, I don't know what to believe, man. Like, it seems fishy. The more they talk about it, the more fishy it seems.
Exactly. Yeah. David Grush, it looks like, was the
I heard that name.
Whistleblower.
He was the whistleblower. Yeah. And frankly, I listened to his interview and he's kind of like not really giving you anything of substance. you know. He's just
No.
like, yeah, there was this whole program that we weren't privy to, like the blah blah blah. But that was all he said. He didn't say a whole lot of much.
It's making a lot of headway in the conspiracy community, which I'm a little surprised, as badly as we've been burned in the past with this stuff. He didn't really tell us anything we couldn't have already figured out. It just seems interesting, the timing and some of the other stuff that's been going on. So I don't know if it is a distraction from the potential Biden case, or from the case concerning Trump, or some combination of the two, or maybe they're going to have to hit us with everything in the kitchen sink to try and have us be dissuaded, and ignore the situation with the Biden family now that all the evidence has come out. Plus two, we just recently had the only whistleblower in the Biden situation end up being found with a gunshot wound. I think they're trying to pretend that it's a suicide. Go figure.
Yeah. Tale as old as time.
Yep. Triple tap suicide. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone could take 3 shots to the head. Just keep going, you know?
Yeah.
Be able to operate a weapon. As a matter of fact, the Alec Baldwin situation has
it's fascinating, man. It kind of fell out of the limelight, but all along I just felt like there was some shit about this story that was not being told. And I read an article or two today, and it's like everybody's pointing the finger at someone else, right? Like Baldwin's pointing the finger at the armory whatever manager, and the armory manager is pointing the finger at like someone else, and you know, it's like nobody wants to take responsibility. And it sounds like I read something and it just seemed silly. It seemed funny. It was like, if the firearm was found to be usable or like in operating condition, charges will be reopened. And it's like, well, obviously it was in operational condition if somebody got shot, unless there's like some grassy knoll fucking second shooter shit going on here. Like that gun was working, apparently.
No, the problem is the FBI has decided that they were going to taint the investigation and broke the weapon, is what it looks like. That's what I'm hearing from my contacts here in New Mexico. Not going to say who it is, but I have friends who work in the movie industry, and so when Alec Baldwin first said, oh, the gun just went off by itself. Okay, there's at least 2 problems with that right off the bat. Number one, no one had called action. Okay, that's number one. So he had no business to even have it in his hand. He had no reason.
Cameras were not rolling.
That's right.
Yeah.
So nobody called action. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the custody of the weapon went through an extra set of hands, the executive producer. It's not supposed to do that. There should be a single point of contact to let you know if a gun is, quote, cold or not. In other words, if it's loaded with blanks. Okay. And for whatever reason, the executive producer decided to take the weapon from the armorer and did not check it themselves, and then hand it to Alec Baldwin and say, the gun is cold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's 2 huge problems with the chain of custody for the weapon on set. And then you even have a third issue whereby after the shooting, the prop master decided they were going to unload the weapon and, quote, get the remaining rounds off the set, and didn't tell anybody that they did that. And somehow they're trying to find out, where did those rounds go? Okay. That's number one. Number two, that person's probably going to, at the very least, get a charge of tampering with a crime scene.
Right. I
So
think I'm not sure, but I think it's the same person, like the armorer, right? And she supposedly was like drinking. Like I read something where it was like, yeah, she'd been drinking every night and smoking weed. So they were like saying she might have been hungover when she loaded the weapon. Not knowing. But to me, that just feels like somebody trying to point the finger at her.
That's the thing. They haven't said it yet. They haven't said it yet. But what they're trying to find out is, number one, where did the remaining 5 rounds go? Okay. Number two, were they from the armorer, or were they from Alec Baldwin and the executive producer who went and bought their own rounds and brought them on set?
Man, something about it smells kind of funny either which way, you know?
Oh, there's multiple angles of fuckery going on here. And did you notice they don't want to go into why they went ahead and they raided the home of the armorer? Well, it comes out that what they're trying to do is match the loaded rounds, the reloads from the armorer, with the 5 rounds that were found back in the blank bucket after the shooting, because that will change everything if they can do it. But I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think the rounds that they found with the armorer, those are hand reloads, and the ones that were fired from the gun, and they won't say yet, but the ones that were fired from the weapon were store-bought rounds. So if none of those store-bought rounds magically end up in the possession of the armorer, there's only one way they could have got there. And that would have been through either the executive producer, who was target shooting with that weapon, or Alec Baldwin, which means they basically manufactured this situation.
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, people don't get shot like on accident, even though they want you to think that happens all the time. I mean, there's a certain amount of negligent discharges, but this was fishy from the start. Like, supposedly they had been arguing, like Alec Baldwin and this cinematographer. Was she like director of photography, I imagine? Or
I think so. Yeah. And the week before, I had actually gotten stopped because they were protesting, and I have to go right past Bonanza Ranch on my way home. So they had the road blocked up, and were protesting.
This is where they've shot like a bunch of Westerns, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I asked them what was going on, and they said it was a safety issue on set. Another guy said that there was a problem. There was gun safety issues on the set. And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? Well, less than a week later, I found out,
Crazy. Yeah.
So
I don't know. To be honest, like Alec Baldwin always gave me like kind of a weird vibe. He's
super douche.
He's a douche. He's a douche. I think he's an egomaniac, like for sure. Yeah. So I wouldn't doubt, it just seems like everybody's covering his ass. Like,
yeah. It's too easy. And the FBI got the weapon, fired the weapon. So we know it worked when the FBI got it, but then they said they broke it. So the statement that they will refile charges if the weapon is still functional has to do with the fact that they felt they couldn't trust the FBI. The prosecutor here in New Mexico felt they couldn't trust the FBI. So they actually had the weapon sent to an independent evaluator, and they're going to investigate the weapon and or find out if it was sabotaged by the FBI. And that's a whole nother ball of wax. Like, what the hell is our FBI doing sabotaging and or tampering with evidence? I mean,
Oh,
holy
that's
crap.
It's what they do, man. It's what they do, you know?
Well, and it's not functional. How could it not be functional when people protested the week before because they were using it for target practice day in, day out?
Yeah.
The other thing that comes up is he said that the weapon went off by itself. Well, if it's a double action revolver, it's not an easy trigger pull.
No, you got to really pull that sumbitch. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, why was he pointing the weapon at anyone on the staff? It should not have been pointed at any of the staff or any of the people on set, except for who he was told to point it at by the producer.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't filming. So who takes a weapon loaded with blanks or not and just starts pointing it at people?
Well, either somebody who doesn't know the first thing about gun safety or somebody who's too arrogant or malevolent to care. So to me, it's like one of two things. He was either fucking around with the gun, just playing with it and shot it off and it happened to kill somebody coincidentally, or it was on purpose. I mean, those are the only two logical things, right? Like,
there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
There's not much else it could be.
Let's see what the local news says here.
New Mexico this afternoon, prosecutors investigating the Rust movie set shooting say they will soon decide whether to refile charges against the actor Alec Baldwin. The special prosecutor said in a recent court filing a final decision as to whether to charge the actor will be made sometime before August 8th. Prosecutors, though, had dismissed involuntary manslaughter charges against Baldwin back in April, but they did say at the time that decision was only temporary.
I guess that's all they had to say. Not much. The weird thing is, man, it's almost hard to find like anything that's come out recently on YouTube.
They are definitely suppressing this story at this point.
Yeah, man.
They blew it up all over the networks that he had been acquitted or that they declined to press charges. They put that everywhere, right? But now that they're thinking about reintroducing charges, suddenly you can't find information.
This one's a little longer. We'll see what they say.
We could find out in the next 6 months if actor Alec Baldwin will face any charges connected to the deadly shooting on the set of Rust. That's one of the revelations in some recent court filings in the case of the film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed.
Right now, she's the only one still facing charges for the deadly shooting, and her lawyers are working to change that.
Yeah, prosecutors filed a response to that attempt last Friday, and Felice Romero has a look at what those documents reveal.
A deadly shooting on a New Mexico movie set caught the attention of the world. The gun was in the hand of actor Alec Baldwin. Both Baldwin and armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed were charged with involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors ended up dropping the charges against Baldwin in April. They said some evidence required further investigation. Recently filed documents point out the gun was damaged during FBI testing. Documents say the gun and broken part were sent to the state lab for further testing. If testing finds the gun did not malfunction, prosecutors say they will refile charges against Baldwin. As for Gutierrez-Reed, she sought to have charges against her dropped. She raised objections about prosecutors and statements they made and evidence in the case. Prosecutors argue any issues raised were either too minor to result in a case dismissal or are now moot because a new special prosecutor team took over the case and recently filed a new criminal complaint. Prosecutors argue continued prosecution is necessary to get justice. They accuse Gutierrez-Reed of having a, quote, history of reckless conduct that has resulted in loss of a human life. Prosecutors say she was sued for giving the keys of her motorcycle to an intoxicated person who caused a deadly crash. They also accuse Gutierrez-Reed of drinking heavily and smoking marijuana during the evenings while shooting Rust. Prosecutors claim Gutierrez-Reed may have been hungover when the live round was put in the gun. Lawyers for Gutierrez-Reed have put forward a theory that someone on set tried to sabotage the film. A trial for Gutierrez-Reed is currently set to begin in August. Felice Romero, KOB4.
Those documents note there was one dummy round found on set that did not rattle as it should. So that round is being tested, but prosecutors do not believe it's going to reveal anything that will change the charges. And it's still not clear how any of those live rounds ended up on the set.
No, it is clear. It is clear.
Somebody brought them.
We know who brought them because so that right now what we've seen is they're admitting that rounds that were not brought by Gutierrez Reed ended up on set. So they've already kind of exonerated her to some degree because they're saying, how did the rounds get there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are you talking about? So that means that they've already done their evaluation of what they confiscated from her and didn't find a match. So now they're saying, how did the rounds get there? So now what they should do is take everyone's phones, confiscate them, and look to see who went and bought rounds, just like they would in any other case. But unfortunately, in this case, they keep trying to avoid getting to the bottom of it and finding out if Alec Baldwin or the assistant producer bought just commercial off-the-shelf rounds to use for target practice. Because everybody knows they were using the weapon for target practice.
Yeah,
that is not denied.
Right. Right.
Okay. That cannot be disputed. They admitted that. So where did those rounds come from? That's the key here. And as far as I can tell, they're just gaslighting and buying time. The bottom line is we're probably going to find out that Alec Baldwin bought the rounds or the executive producer.
I have a hard time.
This is just a show.
Well, it's like nobody's talked about like the situation itself. Like how far away was he? Right? Like what was happening at the time? Why was he pointing it in her direction? Why did he pull the trigger? All these question marks remain. And like I said, I never liked Alec Baldwin, which is why I just don't trust him. You know, I'm like, I tend to lean on the side of I think he did it on purpose.
I mean, he had any number of very simple things that he could have done that would have precluded this murder. Because I'm calling it a murder. I don't care. When I look at it as a regular human being and not a highly politicized Hollywood dipshit, any one of us would have been in jail already. Case closed. They would have said, well, why didn't... Okay, so it's a revolver, right? So let's talk about that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
A revolver. You knock the cylinder out, look in the cylinder, and you can see if they're blanks or not. It's not hard. You could see if there's slugs loaded or not. You don't have to be a rocket scientist on this one.
Right.
You know? I mean, then they didn't have a cross stop in the barrel. Why is that? I mean, they can actually put one of those in, a regular weapon. But they didn't have that. They didn't take that step. I mean, there's just so much wrong with it. And then for him to say it shot itself, a double action revolver. Well, there's only two ways that you could have shot it. You could have either pulled the trigger, which is a hard pull, right, and used a double action on it, or you could have put the hammer back. Again, why are you doing that when no one's called action yet? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you pull the hammer back on a double action, and now you've got a lot less trigger pull. But either way, it's not going off without you pulling the trigger. It just doesn't work that way.
Shit doesn't just happen. No.
And you're aiming it at people and pointing it at people. And here's what's funny is that's exactly what they were protesting when they had the protest the week before the shooting. Everybody walked out on the set and was walking down the damn street with signs and shit.
Saying there was like a dangerous work environment?
Yeah, safety issues. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, involving guns yet. And so I was like, what the hell? Because I am around the Hollywood industry enough to know how tightly these type of things are regulated and how tightly this is watched and handled. This is not something that would happen on accident, So
it's weird how vague the information has been.
Intentionally.
Yeah, and it happened like over 6 months ago, right?
A year and 6 months ago. It was in October of 2021, I think.
And it was on set. I mean, how many witnesses do you need, right?
They had film rolling too. I think because they always have a camera rolling in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get the outtakes, because there's a camera rolling in the background all the time.
Right.
Where'd that footage go? Or did they cover it up?
It does. I mean, like, it does feel that way. And in a funny way, it makes me think about Team America World Police and how Alec Baldwin was like in charge of like the FAG, the FAG, right? Like the Film Actors Guild. And like Alec Baldwin is like numero uno. Like it does. Right. It just feels like he's in the club and he's getting every benefit that comes with membership.
He's in the Epstein Club too, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Shit.
It's so easy. I mean, it doesn't require an investigator to figure this one out. Mm-hmm. But yet they keep finding or making up at this point. I mean, they're running out of ways to do this. They just keep making up new reasons to blame somebody who's uninvolved. Mm-hmm. And it's been great. They just keep circling around Alec Baldwin, but they will not just go right to the middle, which is Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Fuck that guy.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, wouldn't it be nice just to see one of the elite actually face prosecution, like for real?
It's my dream at this point. My God.
I hate to say it, but like if they prosecute Trump, it'll only make me like him for the first time. Be like, if they actually prosecute him, apparently he actually is a threat, like otherwise. Yeah. Otherwise,
so it looks like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm done. But yeah, we've got comments. Go ahead, Rob.
Looks like we got Tunes trying to get in. Let's let him in.
Well, I tried. It sounded like he had a limited time scale that could work, and his phone wasn't cooperating.
He said, "Don't want to hop in if you're on a roll." We're always on a roll. What the hell?
Hop in, man.
We're professionals here. Come on.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Apparently, Fido's coming in a little bit later, perhaps.
Okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, dude. I mean, any other thoughts on that one? Because I've got a pretty dark topic we could hop into if you're ready for it.
That one, I don't know. I'm just really frustrated because, again, I know people who've worked with the people that were on the Rust set and all that, and a lot of the people were messed up for weeks before that. So this is not
clearly there was some foreplay before the shooting.
Yeah, there was things going on for a very long time. Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how bad you have to screw up to make people in Hollywood, for what they make, to make people in Hollywood walk off the set and protest? You know how many times that happened? Ask yourself how many times you've heard of that.
Well, aside from like writer strikes, like never.
Yeah, but they're losers, so we don't care about them.
Yeah.
They don't count. They're not shooting anybody. That's fine.
Generally, like the grips and the all the crew, they got to make money, man. They're trying to make a living, so it takes a lot to make them protest.
That's
strike.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. I've never ever heard of it. And I've heard of some horrific shit on the sets over here at I-25 Studios and in and around New Mexico. So, not likely that they just had a bad day and decided they were going to go cry in the middle of the street. Okay, they're not BLM. All right?
Right.
They're not Antifa. They're not just going to go and I mean, they're losing money when they walk off the set like that. So, not likely. Hey, there's Fido.
What up, Fido? How you doing?
Hey.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So I didn't mean to interrupt your conversation, but what are
No,
we talking about?
we've been talking about Alec Baldwin
Oh, yeah.
and whether or not, like, I don't know. I think Rob and I are on the same page saying that, like, Alec Baldwin seems like a douchebag, and I've yet to see anything to prove that he didn't do it on purpose. And anyways,
Yeah. It's funny how after something like this, the the conspiracies start flying about, oh well, so and so was working on this and that, this big thing, this groundbreaking new story that is going to change everything. And they were saying that about Helena Hutchins, is that it's like nobody ever talked about that before, and all of a sudden it's big news. So I honestly I don't know what to make of it, except that I think that it's more of a distraction than anything to keep people's attention away from what's really going on. I want to say that he didn't actually mean to kill her or harm her in any way, but I don't know his character, so I couldn't say for sure. But it's looking really bad for him. I'll say that much.
well, and it's taken so long. I mean, I didn't realize it's been like a year and a half. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's taken so long for anything to come out. Nothing's come out. We have no clear information. That's what we were both saying. It's like that place was loaded with witnesses. There were probably cameras rolling. Why don't we know anything? To me, it feels like Alec Baldwin is protected. I joked, but it's like Team America World Police. He was in charge of the organization called FAG, the Film Actors Guild. And Alec Baldwin was in charge. And I remember like never liking that guy in any movie. I'm like, he just feels icky. I think he's an evil kind of character, man. And it feels like he's just gonna get away with it.
Maybe. I don't know exactly how they're planning on using him as their tool. To what end would be my question. To what end would they want to protect him? I mean, what exactly is it that he has? What is it that he has control of that they don't want getting out, or what? Maybe he has stories that they don't want him to tell.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So Baldwin attended Alfred G. Burner High School in Massapequa and played football there under coach Bob Reifschneider. In New York City, Baldwin worked as a busboy at the famed discotheque Studio 54. And he got a personal letter from former U.S. President Richard Nixon.
I wonder what that said.
What was that about?
Yeah. It's just sitting there in his bio. It doesn't even make any sense. It's completely out of context almost.
Yeah.
Except for the Studio 54 thing. Because everybody knows what went on there. Everybody knows that if you worked at Studio 54, you probably did some stuff you don't want people to know about at this point, and you probably saw a lot of people do stuff they don't want anyone to know about. I mean, there was orgies there. That's common knowledge. Okay.
So we had Ando saying that the Clintons run Baldwin.
I know that they've been to
he's a douchebag.
Epstein Island or Zorro Ranch together. I think Baldwin's actually spent some time there with the Clintons, of all things.
And then Think Change Repeat says, are they trying to throw the armorer under the bus? If so, why? I tend to agree. I'm like, they're clearly trying to defame her, saying she was drunk and high every night. Hey, guess what? I smoke weed and I drink beer like most nights. Doesn't mean I'm responsible for anybody's death. Okay. Like, I'm not trying to defend her without knowing any of the details, but it does feel like she's become the scapegoat. It's like, so what if she drank and smoked? Did she put live ammunition on the set or not? And at the end of the day, nobody else was holding the gun except fucking Alec Baldwin.
Exactly.
Well, it's really hard for me to believe that these professionals who do this sort of thing all the time would make such an incompetent mistake. I mean, that's like a rookie mistake. That's not something that you would do. What mistake you would make if you had been in the business for as long as you have, as long as these people have. It just seems really odd that they would choose something like that. So, there's that whole facade of incompetence. It's like you're either really, really stupid or you're really, really evil. So
yeah.
Which is it? I don't know. Honestly, I'm still kind of on the fence about all of this. I have no. I'm not in any camp either way, but I'm still looking at all the evidence, what little is coming out of all of this that is available to the public. So I'm still reserving my judgment for a future date when I have more information.
Yeah.
Well, where we were when you came in was the fact that the week before they had protests concerning safety on the set because of the executive producer and Alec Baldwin using that same gun for target practice. Therefore, that meant that there was live rounds on the set the week before. And now what it looks like is in the news is that their big push is who brought the live rounds? How did they get there? And they would not have said that if the search of the armorer's home had yielded rounds that matched the ones that were in the weapon when it was fired. So that means that she didn't bring the rounds. So as far as I'm concerned at that point, that exonerates her. That's number one. The other thing that exonerates her is the fact that the assistant producer took the weapon from her and then subsequently gave it to Alec Baldwin and admits that he should have checked the weapon and that would have been the customary thing to do before he handed it to Alec Baldwin. So with that in mind, there's a whole lot of, as far as I'm concerned, a whole lot of criminality to go around and a whole lot of irresponsibility that had nothing to do with her.
A lot of things either had to go right to make it happen or go wrong to make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Well, you bring up the fact that there were protests the week before, so I wonder if it really was a setup. Maybe somebody was just setting it up, and maybe they weren't intending someone to die, but that's what ended up happening. Maybe he would shoot off the gun, and it would hit some other object, and they would realize that it was live ammunition. I don't know. It's just really strange. The whole thing just reeks to high heaven.
And it's been a long time since it happened, and we have no clarity. That's the weird part. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. Maybe we should move to the next topic, unless anybody has final thoughts.
One more thing to throw at it here. Let's see. So there was they do have it is out there that they reported that the people on the set so Halls, who was the assistant producer, David Halls, listen to this. He was fired in 2019 from his position as assistant director on the movie Freedom's Path after a gun, quote, unexpectedly discharged and once again injured a crew member. So this guy has a history.
Damn.
Yeah. That's in the record.
Wow.
So
didn't hear anybody talking about that.
Nobody's talking about that. Who is that again? What's his position with the film?
And of all things, I got it from Democracy Now! Holy shit.
He's a producer on the
commies. The fucking
even a broken clock's right twice a day.
I guess sometimes the commies get some shit right here and there, Good Lord. Never saw that coming.
We've got a new contributor to the forum here. RBL. Tell us who you are. Explain yourself.
I've never been able to do that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I shaved my head. I shaved my head this morning.
Okay.
But I could not bear to let go of this. And it's just like a Homer Simpson Chelsea. And I kind of like it. Anyway, I'm making a song with Deadfella and Yona. They made me a track.
Are you Tunes?
I don't know. I made a song a long time ago and I sent it to Deadfella and he's like, dude, I want to make the track for this.
Dude, I want to know. I want to know who you are. Who the fuck are you, bro? Because somebody called Tunes was going to join us, but I don't think he made it. Who are you?
You don't remember me, Mike the Polymath? What?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
I talked to you when you were at
Chile.
What's it called? Yeah,
Childerberg.
Yeah, Childerberg.
Shit, man. Well, you look different online.
Oh, well, I shaved all my head today, so that's probably
yeah. You just
usually wearing a fucking hat because I'm bald, you know, on top.
Well, welcome.
Sorry to derail. What were you guys talking about?
Well,
Fido,
we were talking.
Beautiful. Look at you, smiling. Oh,
You're so sweet. Thank you.
We were talking.
Hey, how you doing, man?
We were talking Alec Baldwin, man.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I was talking about Alec Baldwin earlier. I was telling my wife we're so lucky. We're like the couple from Beetlejuice, except instead of making a little model, I have like a record player and a bunch of records now that I'm like my little hobby. And
Oh
she's
wow,
like,
you go back to vinyl.
Garden and make me a sandwich right now. Like, okay.
Dude, so okay, what do you go by? Because you might jar my memory. Honestly, I feel
Recycle Bin
bad.
Laden.
Thank you, dude.
Remember, you were like, "Oh, what a fucking name, bro."
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm like RBL. I have no idea. Recycle Bin Laden, dude. Okay, good to see.
It has to be good.
Good to see you again, man.
You too.
Well, I tell you what, I've got a whole new topic if y'all are ready for it. Where this is some shit right here. Have you guys heard about the Harvard Medical School morgue lately?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think most everybody has now by now.
I have a bias, and I think I know what's going on. His market, he's selling to like occultists, like
oh, for sure.
Added up like freaky people. Like I had a human skull for a minute that somebody swiped from the university, and then somebody swiped it from me. Like the person that swiped it from me is immediately who I thought of as like, who's buying body parts? I was like, but they might have some Chinese medicine going on too, you know?
I think it's some witchy ass shit, man. So
yeah, witchy motherfuckers. Yeah, or some Chinese medicine maybe because they're cannibals over there sometimes.
Let's listen to this and see what we have to say.
Breaking news that we've been following all day, a huge story here. Human body parts taken by a manager at the Harvard Medical School morgue and then sold to customers online.
The man accused of running the scheme faced a judge late this afternoon. He had nothing to say as he walked out of the court.
But families who donated bodies to the school are left wondering if their loved ones have been impacted.
Investigators say Cedric Lodge ran the multi-state scheme over 4 years while he worked at Harvard Medical School's morgue.
We have team coverage tonight from the suspects to the victims. And we begin with WBZ's Beth Germano. She's live outside a federal court in Concord, New Hampshire, where that morgue manager and his wife just faced the judge. Beth?
Well, federal prosecutors say these were grisly transactions, all done in the name of profit. A nationwide network that extended from Massachusetts to New Hampshire to Pennsylvania and beyond, starting in 2018. These are people who allowed their remains to be used to educate medical professionals. The former head of the morgue, Cedric Lodge, made an initial appearance in federal court here in Concord, New Hampshire this afternoon and left without answering our questions. What do you have to say to the families who made those donations, Mr. Lodge?
Cedric Lodge, the head of the Harvard Medical School morgue, leaving federal court in Concord, New Hampshire without commenting, where he faced charges of stealing dissected human body parts from donated cadavers. His wife, Denise, also allegedly part of the money plot, even accused of bringing the remains to his Goffstown, New Hampshire home and sending some through the U.S. Postal Service.
Why would you do this, and why would you give access to that morgue?
Among the buyers identified in the indictment is Katrina McLean, the owner of Cat's Creepy Creations in Peabody. WBZ TV had exclusive access to her business back in March when FBI agents also swarmed her Salem home, conducting a number of searches for which she had no.
Okay, so I paused it there because Salem, Massachusetts, y'all. Let's take some geography into account here. They're talking about the area.
Dead giveaway.
Sorry, go ahead.
Giveaway.
He said it's a dead giveaway.
It's a dead giveaway. Yeah, this is some witchy
video I saw on YouTube. Sorry.
Witchy shit.
Yeah.
Recycle Bin Laden. I feel like I was stepping all over you there, man. Do you have
No, it was the opposite. I have no filter.
Okay. All right, I'll play the rest.
Fido
of
was trying to talk on the last WTF, and I was just like, blah, blah, saying dumb things. She was like trying to explain the theory of relativity or whatever, and I was just like, my feet itch.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
man.
that's the first thing that jumped into my mind. It's some witchy people, and you're like, it's near Salem, Massachusetts. Well, the case closed then. Right?
I'm just saying. I'm not.
It's got too much of a. It's got a nice little bow on it, though. It makes me wonder if it's a psyop. You know, like what?
Yeah,
I don't know. It was just...
Well, there's more. There's more.
Comment at the time.
Is there anything that you want to say about the FBI search here yesterday?
But it caught the attention of neighbors.
They set up 2 tents in the backyard. They spent 8 hours here.
Now, according to the indictment, Katrina McLean agreed to purchase 2 dissected faces for $600 from Cedric Lodge, and they agreed to meet at the Harvard Medical School morgue to conduct the transaction. She also allegedly shipped skin to Jeremy Pauley of Pennsylvania, a self-described human blood artist, to tan the skin to create leather in exchange for more human skin and ship it back to McLean, allegedly telling him, wanted to make sure it got to you, and I don't expect agents at my door. Another Pennsylvania man, Joshua Taylor, made electronic PayPal payments to the lodges, totaling more than $37,000. $1,000 transaction was labeled head number 7. Another $200 transaction labeled brains.
Now, federal prosecutors say Cedric Lodge abused his access to the morgue to potential buyers. He has been ordered to provide a DNA sample and will make another appearance in a Pennsylvania courtroom at a later date to answer to these charges. Reporting live from Concord, New Hampshire, I'm Beth Germano, WBZ News.
I'm going to kick it off real quick and say she didn't say it right. She said supposed to say brains.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to read it, because you don't get the full effect of it unless you read it out, unless you actually say it properly. Because if people are just listening, they're not going to get the full effect. The guy labeled his payment as for brains with multiple eyes, like a zombie would. Like a zombie would.
Yeah, yeah.
She
missed an opportunity.
Missed an opportunity for sure.
It's like this is full blown dystopia. You know, like what world are we living in?
Can't make this stuff up anymore.
No, you can't. It's like, you can't.
I wonder, because I didn't actually see. I did go read through the article that was posted in the forum, and I didn't actually see how did they find out this was going on.
That's a good question. Well, apparently they were shipping stuff through the postal service, so maybe
they were making payments through PayPal, and I noticed there was a $600
online communication and paper trail and all that. Yeah.
They might have raised a red flag along the way, or some poor postal service employee was like, "This box is dripping blood."
That's usually how it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The guy who was selling C4. Selling C4 and sending it through the mail system. That's how they got him. He went ahead and,
Stella says Face Off was predictive programming.
Literally. Yep.
Yeah.
every bad movie plot we're seeing play out now.
Yeah. Well, the next thing's going to be cloning. You know, I was at the bar on Saturday, I guess yesterday, and this girl was like, she was tripping, like for real. She was on mushrooms, and she's like, yeah, my husband's like a scientist, and so he promised me that like we wouldn't ever let our dog die, that the dog would live forever. And I'm like, are you joking or are you delusional? She was fully delusional. Like, I'm saying, like, that's the next thing. It's going to be, what's that? The Fifth Element? Or no. That Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where they clone the dogs and the people. But
yeah, they'd
Oh.
have to have like a kennel of baby puppies to drain the blood and
Right.
transfuse it into this mutt or something, right?
Yeah. Well, there's more disturbing shit as far as severed body parts go. Let's see here. This was a little less known and shared, but just imagine this guy apparently works for this company who they take, well, what was it? It's a nonprofit that's like for Bodies for Science, I think. But let's see here.
Illinois worker finds 3 severed heads at his desk after job complaints. Well, that's it for the job, kids. So much for gainful employment. The level of professionalism it would take in the face of such blatant disrespect would make anyone question if it was really worth it in the first place. A worker at a Chicago company that distributes human body parts for medical research says someone, and that's what would stick with me, is the term someone, not knowing who it is, left 3 severed heads next to his desk in a macabre act of retaliation after he complained about the condition of donor bodies. Dale Wheatley, the transportation coordinator for the Anatomical Gift Association of Illinois, filed a police report after discovering the 3 disembodied heads sitting on a blue plastic storage tub by his desk. All
right, let's pause there for a second. The Anatomical Gift Association of Illinois. I mean, does that not feel creepy to begin with?
Didn't you hear? Everybody's donating their body to science these days.
I guess, right? Dude. Also, what's up with this dude's background? Like, is he a witch? Like, what's going on here?
So I have questions. So, like, this is a company that deals with body parts.
Yes.
And so this guy is saying that someone left 3 severed heads at his desk as retaliation. How do we know that it was retaliation, that someone didn't just accidentally leave 3 heads at his desk? If this is their business, this is what they do, right?
I believe it goes on to say, we can keep watching, but I believe it goes on to say that he had been complaining about essentially a dirty work environment. Like, so apparently this place, they had like rat problems and the rats were chewing through the body bags and like nibbling on the bodies and shit. And like the bodies were getting moldy and like decomposed and like, yeah, I mean, this is gross, but I'll play on because I'm pretty sure that's where this goes.
Anatomical Gift Association is a not-for-profit organization that donates bodies to the 8 major medical schools in the state of Illinois. Now, these bodies are free because they're being donated, but they still cost several $1,000s a piece to store and transport. So if this guy's job is to oversee the transportation of the bodies, damn right he's supposed to say something about the condition. At first, I was confused. Wheatley tells people, my boss walked by and I asked them why the heads were at my desk. He said they need to get back with their bodies so we can send them to cremation. Wait a minute, because I don't care for his boss's tone at all. He should have threw one of those heads at him. How is his boss not just as concerned as he is, if not more? How is his boss going to play like this is just workplace shenanigans, like 3 heads at someone's desk is just regular for the workday? Wheatley said in his 5 years at the job, body parts had never before been placed by his desk, which is exactly why his dumbass boss should be a professional and show some concern if he's not the one in on it, and normally are kept in designated storage areas before he retrieved them to deliver to medical schools for students to dissect and study. They are later collected, cremated, and the ashes are returned to families. I asked them why they were at my desk, Wheatley said, and he said, I don't know, Dale. There's a lot of strange things going on. And
there's a lot of strange things going on. This was what made my ears perk up, right? This is very much maybe connected to the Harvard thing, even though this is an Illinois school. But this is a a whole underground economy. This is a black market, like body parts, okay, and medical schools and morgues
and
abortionists. Come on. I mean, right?
And I will say this, that when it comes to dealing with patients and even deceased bodies, people who deal with those types of things for an extended period of time tend to become desensitized. So that could also play into part of why his boss was not as up in arms, so to speak, about the whole situation, because people do tend to get desensitized to the things that go on. And people in EMS have one of the most morbid senses of humor that you will ever come across in the medical field. So, and they're dealing with living patients. So I can only imagine what someone's sense of humor is like who deals with cadavers and deceased bodies all the time. So just putting that out there just for a little context. But yeah, this is kind of weird, even for a morbid sense of humor type situation. That's pretty weird.
Yeah,
we get that, but the problem is that they have already been known to have a sanitation problem there.
Yeah,
and they're just going to leave 3 heads laying around. That's okay too. You know, you can have a morbid sense of humor and be desensitized and not be a pig or cause a safety issue. You know,
I agree with that. But yeah, there's a lot of missing information with this one.
So my question
just the
is,
fact that they're mishandling them, it really bugs me. I mean, I'm sure there's procedures and they're just saying to hell with it at this point.
it's disgraceful. Was the desk the 3 heads were placed at the desk of an administrator or the boss or whatever?
It was the guy who made the complaints.
I think he said he was like a delivery guy.
Oh wow!
I mean, he was like, no, I don't want to say delivery guy. He was transportation. He was head of transportation.
Wow, that whole place is effed up. Then
Stella says some heads are gonna roll.
Thank God they didn't. It would have been a bigger mess.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Luckily, they just were on the desk. We can clean that. That's not.
I think there's more yet to this story. Let's see what they say.
I agree.
That's when I would have knew. And that's when you find out you can't trust anybody at that job. He's not dumb. He's playing dumb. Either he's in on it or he knows exactly who has something to do with it. Wheatley, 37, said he also found rolled up bunches of smoldering sage throughout the office, which he interpreted as harassment. Not 3 severed heads on your desk.
Sage?
That's not
what. You'd want sage on there. Just get rid of the voodoo.
So sage actually does. It's like antimicrobial or something.
Yeah.
Like it does something in reality.
It's also
it's
ceremonial.
It also wards off bad juju.
It's ceremonial.
But again, it's like a ceremonial thing that's based in like reality. Like it's like
it wards
don't
off
eat
bad
the
juju.
shellfish or the pork or whatever, and then it's like, well, there's parasites.
So somebody,
this is what you want.
I mean, this is what's given me like goosebumps. It's like somebody is leaving severed heads around and burning sage. This is witchy shit.
Yeah.
So somebody's pranking somebody, making them knowing that they're afraid.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then they're burning. The person that's afraid is burning the sage, or someone that's sympathetic to them at the workplace is burning the sage.
Yeah.
To alleviate their fear. And this guy is just like thrilling himself by doing shit like this to that person. Maybe. I don't know.
Hostile work environment. Get the goddamn lawyers out.
Yeah, well, I would say
it's one of those things where you have to laugh or you're gonna cry, right? Like working in a hospice, I imagine, or like, I mean, I'm not saying that if I was in a hospice, I'd be like, "Oh, you're dying," or you know what I mean? But
I'm not one for like frivolous. I'm not one for frivolous hostile work environment suits. But if I had severed heads left at my desk, I might consider suing somebody.
Come on, man. Yeah,
yeah, like come on. All right, let's see
where this. I was
this.
trying to find a way where it would be sane. I was like, okay, so this is someone's protest at the boss's desk about the conditions. Like,
no, it wasn't the boss.
Realities.
The weird thing is his boss didn't seem to give a fuck. That's what they're saying. So here we go.
Harassment, but the sage is some cultures believe burning sage can help reduce negativity. I think they were trying to say it's for warding off evil spirits, Wheatley said, and I was the evil spirit. And I could see where they might be trying to gaslight him or bait him into acting out so they could call his workplace behavior into question and probably try to can him. But honestly, he's not asking for anything that's not described in their mission statement and core values of this association. The shocking experience with the heads followed a complaint by Wheatley last month that donated bodies were not being properly embalmed or stored as a result, which is a huge health risk, were subject to rotting and mold. Rats had chewed through storage bags and bitten cadavers' feet, according to his attorney, David Fish, and other degradation and decomposition made the bodies unusable or shorten the length of time they can be studied. This sounds like something that's been going on for a while, an underlying culture in the workplace, if that's what you want to call it, starting at that boss that wants to play oblivious. Then you get a new guy in there that wants to tell people, hey, you got to do your job properly. And no, that just won't do. No, we can't have that. The body goes to waste if it's not properly cared for. Fish tells people, I know that, and I don't even work there. One medical school lab manager contacted the Anatomical Association to report that some of the donors they received were in such poor condition they couldn't be used. In a message viewed by people, the lab manager noted a bug infestation, decomposing tissue on the hands and feet. I think.
Okay, this shit's like so gross, dude. It's so gross. So, like I said, I think this is like a whole industry, right? These bodies are donated to science for medical students to practice on or to learn from or whatever, right? And this is like the only reason this came to light is because somebody was just capitalizing on like doing this job, but gave zero fucks about doing the job right. They're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we'll just let the bodies decompose and like take the money and like nobody's going to notice. Well, somebody fucking noticed, the transportation guy. And apparently there were previous complaints, but you know, this is the guy who's saying like, yo, this is gross. Like, I'm going to get sick working around these bodies. And then somebody leaves 3 goddamn severed heads on his desk. Like, what the fuck, man?
It's a threat.
Yeah.
It's the Godfather, but like 18 times worse than a horse head, man.
Yeah, it's definitely retaliation and intimidation at the very least, despite all the other issues.
Intimidation for sure. You know, my first impression was that he had complained about the condition and the improper storage and sanitation and everything. And so my first impression of them leaving the heads was, okay, if you're so concerned about it, then you do it. That would have been my first impression of that whole thing. I don't think so much that they were threatening bodily harm to him, but just like, you know, people, if you complain about your coworkers slacking, then they're going to slack even more just so you have more work to do.
I think it takes passive aggression to a whole nother level.
It does. I agree. It really does.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. But okay, so I don't know. Is there a common theme here? Like, first of all, we have people not respecting the dead. Primarily.
Yes.
Yeah, the disregard for the human body. Just
that whole sanctity of human life has been indoctrinated out of.
Like you were saying, Fido, with like EMTs, paramedics, like the dark humor, but like this is
something different.
This is not
it's
humor.
Culture wide, the fucking no shit's given about human life.
So we have somebody running the morgue at Harvard, selling body parts to witches in Salem, Massachusetts. We have somebody in Illinois working at this this nonprofit, quote unquote. Okay, number one, red flag raised right there. The anatomical whatever the fuck nonprofit, who apparently the boss doesn't give a fuck about respecting the bodies. And I have to wonder, like, what kind of person starts an organization like this, doesn't do it the way it's supposed to be done? Like, they are probably selling body parts too. That's where my mind goes. Like, if you're just going to half-ass it, it's probably because you're already a scumbag. And why do you start some kind of organization dealing in dead, human remains unless you're like a scumbag trying to, profit from it? So when I heard the non-profit thing, I'm like, this is sketchy.
I would interject one thing that just occurred to me. Universities to train forensic scientists, they have body farms.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in that occasion, various stages of decay prior to being delivered would be just fine with them. I don't know what they're trying to teach people to identify how long a body has been dead.
Right. But in those cases, if the body is already decomposing, it's not really going to help them determine.
It wouldn't be a control or whatever.
Yeah. They're still interfering with the purpose of people donating their bodies to begin with.
Right. Can you imagine my grandmother, for instance, donated her body to science,
So apparently somebody called the Harvard Medical School morgue, and they're like, our grandmother donated her body to y'all. Like, do you still have her after the shit broke, after this news came out? And they're like, yeah, we still have her. They're like, we want her back. And apparently nothing's been done. But Bear Snare, welcome to the party, dude. Like, we're talking
What's up, guys?
We're
Sorry
talking
I'm
some dark shit, man.
I have no idea. I'm just jumping in.
So
Sorry, that sounds a little hot, doesn't it?
We're talking
Boy,
about.
are you in for a surprise?
Yeah, we're talking about like the black market, like dead human remains, like medical schools.
This whole thing came up with one of those scientific, like, you donate your bodies and it goes to weird shit instead of what you think it's going to.
Somebody ends up selling your severed head to like a witch.
That's not good.
I'm jumping a couple of lines there. That's not exactly what happened, but like that's where this is headed. No pun intended.
All right, well, don't let me interrupt.
Okay. We'll play the rest of this out here.
Buddy should just go on ahead and start looking for another job. But keep that lawsuit open, because if they lose one of those universities, which that's what it's coming to, because they're being very ignorant about things, they're going to lose them all, and all of them are going to be out of a job. William O'Connor, executive vice president of the nonprofit company, could not be reached for comment by people, but the Chicago Tribune reported that he denied that donor bodies were mistreated and said handling body parts is in Wheatley's job description. I got a question. How the hell would that jackass know anything? As vice president, he's not paying attention to the boots on the ground, day-to-day handling of those bodies, as the transportation coordinator's job is the allegory of the cave. The only thing Wheatley did wrong was speaking up and saying that something was wrong. Wheatley, who also lodged complaints with the Cook County Medical Examiner and the Illinois Department of Public Health, wants to see better care taken of the bodies and the workspaces. He in general felt the facility needs to be improved. Fish says they need to treat donors with more respect. Me personally, I have no choice but to believe that every person in that building is a bad actor, and they have been doing this for a while until he came along and had the nerve to say something. What do you think? Could you come to work every day after somebody left 3 heads on your desk?
Yeah, you'll find that everywhere, man. Like police departments,
Mm-hmm.
The new kids, like, all idealistic and maybe knows a little bit more about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, than the rest of the cops. And what happens to those guys? What happened to Serpico and all those dudes? This is like
what happened to Julian Assange and all of them, dude. Yeah, you can't blow the whistle and get away with it. You end up with fucking heads on your desk if you blow the whistle.
Yep, there we are.
But all of this seems kind of weird, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily shock me is the sad part. We've been doing this WTF forum for a while now, and I'm getting to the point where nothing even shocks me.
Yeah, we're deep into the demoralization campaign, and the assault is the quickening, just more and more clown world piling on top. So you just what do? There's like, you can't even keep up anymore. I remember
It really
10
is
years
so
ago, there'd be an
ridiculous.
issue, would be like the issue of the week. We have the issue of the hour now, It's just like,
This is true. I mean, mass distraction 24/7, like a machine gun in your face.
Yeah, like I was listening to No Agenda earlier, and I had to laugh because the stuff that NBC and PBS and stuff, NPR are saying, it's such clown world. It is ridiculous. It's false on its face, and then they're talking at the same time about truth, about how important truth is. We're not going to air the Trump speech because we know it's just going to be campaigning, right? So, and there's going to be lies, right? So we're just going to watch it for you, and then we'll show you what we want, and we're protecting you by doing this,
From misinformation. Oh my goodness.
I'm starting to think that the pendulum is swinging the other way, though. Like, so Recycle Bin Laden shared this. San Francisco teachers suspended for singling out white male students in class. Teacher said she did it out of frustration and anger. You know what? These little punks were probably calling her on her woke bullshit.
That's all it was. Yeah. Well, I had teachers even in the 80s that would do that. They'd make it obvious that they only wanted the black students to be answering certain questions and things like that. And they were very vocal about how they didn't like white males. So,
okay.
So in the 80s, you said?
Yeah, because all this woke stuff that we're seeing right now has all come from things and ideas that were put into play in Chicago back in the 80s. So with things like Operation Push and the Rainbow Coalition, all these Jesse Jackson NGOs and nonprofits, etc., these intimidation tactics where Jesse Jackson would show up on the doorstep of any business that fired a black person. I mean, it could be anything as trivial as maybe a white supervisor made a comment that a black female looked nice that day or something. I mean, you can go back and look at the local politics back in the 80s, and that was already starting there. So now everybody's dealing with it.
Yeah, it's been building for a long time.
Sure.
But this is kind of interesting. It says a San Francisco teacher has been suspended for singling out and discriminating against her white male students. Lowell High School teacher Nicole Noel Henares allegedly made white male students in her English class stand up as a group and answer whether they felt like a minority, quote unquote, last fall, according to a letter from the San Francisco Unified School District, blah, 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 blah. Students felt confused, sad, and that there was no correct answer for them in that moment, they told the district in interviews. So, yeah, I mean, hey, if you're not brown or you don't have a pussy, stand up and tell us if you feel discriminated against. Well, I didn't until right now, fucking bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's.
And while we're at it, here's some grooming. Let's get some sexual vibes going on in our classroom. Why not?
Oh yeah, drag queen story time.
Apparently, okay. Students also confirmed that Henares used inappropriate materials in the class, including Lil Nas X song, blah, 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 which has sexually explicit lyrics and themes. So, yeah, there might be some grooming going on here.
It just says fucking. I mean, that's not what I thought, from reading.
Even still. I saw something recently where it was like, with Pride Month, this high school class, there was a teacher showing some.
It's no baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
No,
well,
no.
fair
As a matter of
enough.
fact, that's considered rape. That's considered rape speech now.
rape culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw this video where this teacher was showing like a pride video of some kind in their class, right? High school students, and all the students are like, turn it off. Like, we don't want to watch this. We're done with this shit. Like, I think, like I said, the pendulum might be swinging back. Like, if high school students are pushing back against this woke, indoctrination, that's kind of a good sign, I think.
Did you see what happened in Toronto at a Catholic school?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Some of the
they
kids
did a
decided,
walkout.
Yeah, they had a walkout, but a majority of them were making fun of and interrupting their little walkout protest. And they were all crying and that. I mean, what are they going to do? Throw the whole school in jail for hate crimes? Good luck. Good luck, you assholes. You got what you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the article. I saw it on the news the other night, so it's everybody's probably already seen it by now. But the middle school students that refused to participate in their Pride Month thing up in, I think it was up in Massachusetts, and they were tearing the Pride decorations off the wall. And I think some of them were other students were handing out Pride stickers or rainbow flag stickers or whatever, and the ones that were protesting ripped up the stickers. And apparently the students were glaring at their teachers, mean mugging them, and it's like, okay, so the kids didn't want to participate in your program, but you're going to make a big deal about it and make it seem like they were attacking the whole. It was really funny. I'm trying to find the article. It's actually really funny the way they framed it, and it's like, they ripped up stickers with no regard for human life. And
it was murder.
It was, they dared to just mean mug the teacher. What is this world coming to? They were giving dirty looks. Oh my God. The humanity
Suck the lady
of it all.
penis. Suck the lady penis.
They poured bleach on the pride flag and called it the N-word.
But it's like, this was the only way all of this was ever going to stop, was if the kids stood up and said, we're not going to be participating in this anymore. And the kids had to make up their mind that they'd had enough. And it's really sad that it has to be that way, but that's the way it is. These kids if you don't want your kids to be, brainwashed, you have to teach them how to not be brainwashed and stand up for themselves.
What if we've learned that trying to negotiate with communists doesn't work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only thing they understand is destruction and violence, because we've seen only that from them, from everything from cancel culture to BLM burning down and murdering people, burning down whole neighborhoods. What was it? Fiery but peaceful. Yeah. You know what? Get ready. You're going to get a taste of that yourself here pretty soon. Keep playing. Gasoline is going down in price. You're making it a very nice option at this point.
Stella says there should be a mass pride flag bleaching movement.
Maybe we should just burn them all. You could burn the American flag. Let's
bleach
burn
the flag and then just, use it as a beach towel or something.
Or no, let's poop on it. Can I poop on it? They like to poop on stuff.
You certainly can.
Ando says that a white flag
pooping around this house.
The white flag means surrender, though. So, that's a good thing.
That's what we want from them.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So
we're done negotiating.
That's what my point is here with the pendulum thing. Like, I think it's starting to swing back. So Ando shared this, but then I have kind of a counter afterwards. I have not watched this, so let's see what it's all about.
The Washington State Senate just passed Senate Bill 5599, allowing the state to hide children from their parents. No allegation of abuse is required, just the child's delusional desire to change the gender of their own body. The bill compels state-licensed youth shelters to act as accomplices in castrating children without their parents' knowledge, and allocates over $7 million to pay for the surgical and pharmaceutical castrations. According to this new law, if a child shows up at a youth shelter in Washington state and expresses the desire to change the gender of their body, claiming that their parents are against it, then the youth shelter is legally obligated to not notify the parents of the child's location, but rather to funnel that child into the destructive and horrific world of transgenderism, paid for by the state of Washington with taxpayer dollars. And it's not limited to Washington residences. Any young, confused, runaway child can now make their way to Washington to get castrated by the government without their parents ever being notified. The agenda to destroy Christian culture and the family was further demonstrated last month when scores of UN judges published the 8 March Principles for a Human Rights-Based Approach to Criminal Law Proscribing Conduct Associated with Sex, Reproduction, Drug Use, HIV, Homelessness, and Poverty. The document states that these principles should be of immediate relevance to legislators, judges, and prosecutors at all levels. These principles include the right to abortion and transgender surgeries. They recommend the legalization of prostitution and all drug use. But the real offense is buried at the end of Principle 16, consensual sexual conduct, where it states that sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not in law.
Oh, what's going on, y'all? What the fuck?
Well, we know that it's already
we're going to
illegal.
codify stealing your children and neutering your children.
And then
also
Bob Barker.
And also having sex.
President Bob Barker, have your pets spayed, your children spayed and neutered.
Yeah. And also, it's legal to have sex with them now, is what they're saying.
The most
I just want to
powerful
point
word is
out that
no.
when I chose the town I live in 1996, one of the reasons was that it had a pride march once a year. So like all the gay kids in the college in the town would get together and fucking march down the street and do a little parade. And I was like, cool, they're not scared here. I love that, you know? But like targeting children all the time and like confusing them and then chemically assaulting their reproductive system's development. It's like, it's obvious what they're doing. And it's like, what was it? The Population Council, the UN Population Council or something decided to use surreptitious means with medicine, vaccines, food. I saw it in writing once. And I was like, dude, but I suck at finding, especially now, the internet's really hard.
I think it's rape. Like vaccines, if they don't know what they're getting, or if the parent doesn't understand fully that whole informed consent thing, like if you're injecting something into someone else's body without their real informed consent, it's rape, right?
Well, the problem is that
the legal definition of assault and battery.
We've got a comment
However,
from Ando. They want to rape kids. What's so hard to understand?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the thing. There was the the Helsinki Convention that basically undermined everything that was outlined in the Nuremberg trials concerning public health and informed consent. So with that in mind, it bothers me that it has never even come up. No one has brought that up yet. Everyone keeps bringing up Nuremberg, and it's like,
I've heard it brought up before.
Nuremberg was in play. Now it's not. Now what?
Yeah, it doesn't. Dude, I posted the Nuremberg Code on a thread about the vaccines like 3 years ago, and everybody reported me for spam. It was the first time I'd ever posted it anywhere. It was just like the short version. and I got reported for spam, like, and blocked from commenting on the post, and the post was hidden. Like,
and why does that work?
Yeah, how come they can burn my books and I never even thought to burn theirs? You know, just to, like,
I know. That's what I started doing. I used my Instagram as warfare. I would go ahead and report people for pedophilia, harming a child, all kinds of shit, and get their shit taken off.
You have to
I just
if
didn't
you
care.
see it, but it's like they're just gonna get a slap on the wrist and go. They're vampires and they're multiplying, you know, because they're being allowed to proliferate. Like, there's a study that says a child that's molested has a higher, like, they're almost double the chance. So that's what I mean. Like, it's a contagious, you know. It's like, I really think that a repeat child
right?
molester needs to just be taken out. Like, stake through the heart, sunlight, garlic, holy water, decapitation, scatter the body parts so that, like, you know, you can
Cut
have a
off
whole
their
Castlevania
Starbucks.
game looking for the body parts of this pedo piece of shit.
Cut off their Starbucks. They can't drink it anymore. What else? Can we do?
Is
Take
that
away
how
the
we?
pride flags.
Is that how we rid them of their power? Just take Starbucks away?
I'm pretty sure. I think Starbucks is big gay coffee.
Yeah. So Ando pointed out that somebody apparently got fined for wiping their ass with a pride flag.
They did. That's why we should all do it.
Right. So it makes me think about the whole thing with the pride flag being.
Doesn't that give you AIDS?
It's monkeypox.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm not vaccinated.
But
Damn.
obviously, we probably all saw how they had the pride flag front and center on the White House.
How dare you repopulate the human race, Fido?
That's right.
Filthy breeder. Don't you know?
Breeders.
What about the trees?
What
But
about the earths?
So not that I'm any like diehard like purist about the American flag having to be treated with like sanctity and honor, but you at this point, it seems to me that if you desecrate the pride flag, you would get in more trouble than you would if you desecrated the American flag.
100%. It's a hate crime.
Right.
A victimless hate crime.
Yes. A hate crime with no
all
hate.
kinds of weird versions of the American flag all over the place, and I wonder, like, doesn't that count?
It
as
kind of does.
desecration?
It kind of does. Yeah. No, like the thin blue line flag, like they're all like misrepresentations of the
And then there's
American
like
flag.
decal stickers of shredded flags with some other like skull shit in it or
Mhm,
something. Like, who knows? Like, there's
Have
all
you
kinds
seen
of
the flags that the flags for all the different genders and identities that and then there's the changes to the Pride Progressive flag. You know, if you look at them all, it just looks schizophrenic. If you really want to get down to it,
Yeah.
It's starting
if
to
you look
become
at
like
all of them
a Pollock
together
painting.
side by side.
There's just a Pollock painting, just a bunch of colors all smeared all over, you know. And what
What it
didn't
is,
Pollock
and
have
so-
schizophrenia? So what does that tell you about the pride flag?
and it
Well,
gets
what it
more
is for
gray
the-
as time
for
goes
the-
on. It gets more gray and gray and gray, right?
Yeah.
Make
For
everything
the low
gray.
information people in the middle, what it represents is they're winning in this like righteous culture war. They don't understand what's the implications of what's happening, right? They're just getting like, it's like my dad who thinks Joe Biden invented Social Security 3 days ago or whatever. You know, it's like, no, dude. You've been saying that your whole life.
He's the Social Security Jesus.
I feel like
He
this
saved us all, son.
I feel like the progressive pride flag, right? The new LGBTQP plus flag, kind of does a good job representing what it is. It's a general identity crisis. Like if you can't simplify the fuck out of that flag, like you're trying to represent too many things. You have no identity. There's like
Boy George was fucking famous, dude. Everybody loved Boy George. Everybody in the world loved Boy George, and Eddie Izzard and a bunch of people. It's that you're shoving it down people's
Eddie
throats
Izzard
and
was the
going
first
to their
comedian I
schools
saw.
and telling their kids about it, like, and confusing the fuck up. That's the age where, I'm sorry, I have eyes. I have lived life for 4 decades around people. homosexuals, some of them, not all of them, do prey on younger children in the age where they're confused, where they're just starting to have the feelings, when they're 12 and 13 and so. And that's when you can go to one, and a kid that's normally probably going to be straight, but right now is really confused and say, "Oh, you're gay." You're over and over again until the kid's like, "I must be gay."
They become a little cock parrot. Hey, I'm gay.
Yeah.
I'm gay. Quack.
I mean, I'm not saying this happens a lot. I don't know, but I think I've seen it in my life.
So
Probably happens a lot more than
and there's
we would
also
like
like
to admit.
Stella Q says, mix all the colors together. It ends up a puke shade of poo.
Yeah.
They like the poo. They like the
I think even though we've covered this topic a lot, we have yet to get to the heart of it, but we're close. Like, I do think this boils down to an identity crisis. And when people don't know who they are or what they are very easily manipulated into thinking they might be something they're not. And so this is what I'm talking about with the pendulum swinging the other way. We've got stories about people who are fucking fighting back, right? Girl sues hospital for removing her breasts at age 13. And this is the shit they're saying isn't going on, but clearly is, right? Like this, I don't know if I don't think she's won the lawsuit, but like this is in California. And this girl, when she was 11, she says, Jane, now 18, was influenced by people online when she was just 11 years old and told her parents that she was a boy, prompting them to ask for guidance from doctors. So apparently they told her to cut her tits off, and now she's pissed. 5 years later, she's pissed.
Yeah. I kind of wondered how, when I started seeing all of this with the puberty blockers and the gender affirmation care and all this stuff being targeted towards preteens and young teenagers, the thought occurred to me that there's a whole field of study dedicated to child growth and development and human growth and development. And regardless of what culture that you are in, where you were born on the face of the earth, there is a certain pattern of development that every human being goes through. And when you have, like with infants, with babies, they are very self-centered because that's what they need to survive. They need to be self-centered. And so when you get to like toddler age and, 2 to 4, the ages of 2 to 4, they engage in what's called magical thinking. And it's exactly what it sounds like. They pretend that they're something else. They're trying to figure out where they are in this world. They're trying to find their place and what fits, what feels right, what looks. And so they're going to go through many different stages before they finally settle into what they're supposed to be. And when they're in middle school, which is around the 11, 12, 13-year-old age, again, they go through another growth change and spurt where their mental capacity is growing. And so there's more room for more abstract thought. And so they're trying to make sense of it. And if they don't have a solid foundation from when they were young, they're going to be very easily swayed into thinking something that's not true. And all of these medical doctors and physicians who have gone for years to medical school and gone through this extensive testing to become these physicians that are treating patients, it completely boggles my mind how they can just completely throw out decades and decades, even centuries of child growth and development research and study to pander to a child's emotional state and whims. And they're like, "Oh, well, you think you're a boy? Okay, well, let's get you turned into a boy then." And that's not how any of that works. They're not even looking to see what is causing them to think this way, because this is not normal. And yes, we have our roles. Little girls grow up to be women, little boys grow up to be men. And we have to be okay with that, because you can't change that. At its foundation, at its core, you cannot change that. No matter how many surgeries, no matter how many chemicals you put into your body, you're never going to be able to change that. And now we're getting to the point where people are wanting to implant medical device, these I'm not talking about the ones that actually save lives, but like the implants where they're testing out like the cell phone on the hand, or the Internet of Things, the
Neuralink.
smart devices, implants into your brain. And it's like, and then these devices to allow you to interact with the computer, and not necessarily because you're overcoming a handicap or a disability, but just because you can. And it's like, you're not even stopping to think if we should. And this is what these pediatricians and these physicians are doing. They're not even stopping to think if this is something that we should be doing. They're like, oh, well, this is what they're saying, so that must be true. No, that's not how any of this has ever worked before. And I don't understand why all of a sudden it's this is the way we're doing things. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
So Ando had a good comment here. He says, confusion is their weapon. That's why a preacher was arrested for the verse, God is not the author of confusion. I think that's a good line. They don't want things to be clear cut. They want things to be ambiguous. They want us arguing, right?
Exactly. But what I don't understand is you have all of these intelligent physicians, and none of them are stupid. I'm not gonna sit here and insult these physicians. They're not stupid by any stretch of the imagination, but they've just been I don't know. They've just been manipulated into believing that this is the way that things should be, and that this is how we need to progress as a species. And it's really infuriating when I hear parents talking about how they can't relate to their kid. It's like, well, you haven't been spending time with them. You haven't been asking them the questions that they need answered, or you haven't been answering the questions that that your kid needs answered. Spend time with your kids. Don't let them just wander off and spend time with whoever. If you want to be able to understand what your kid's going through, you've got to spend time with them. And your kid has been made to feel like you don't understand them, and you could never understand them. And that's why they don't want to spend time with you. So it's a very fine line that has to be walked. And nobody ever said being a parent was going to be easy. It's one of the most difficult things a person can ever do. But you've got to take the time to do it. And you can't just, plop them down in front of the TV and expect everything to be okay.
Or put them in the public schools.
Right. Well,
forget about it. Yeah.
I went to public school and I turned out okay, but at the same time, I feel like I was hamstrung with a lot of my education. I think things would have been a lot different if I had been homeschooled, and I think things would have been better. But that's a conversation for another story.
Well, so
time.
I had a little moment yesterday where I had this thought. I'm like, people often argue against homeschooling, being like, oh, like homeschool kids aren't socialized enough, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, let's boil it down to the basic question. Like, who is responsible for your children? Okay. And they'll say, oh, I am. I'm responsible for my kids. And I'm like, this is just a thought that I played out. And I did some math. If I was having this conversation, you say, okay, you're responsible for your kids, like 100%. Yeah, for sure. 100%. I'm 100% responsible for my kids. Well, let's do some math here. Your kids spend 5 days a week, 8 hours a day for 12 years, plus kindergarten most of the time. So whatever, like that's like another half. And if we do the math, the amount of time they spend, so from age 0 to 18, even though they're only in school for 12, we do the math, they're spending 0.333 days with the state, 5 days a week. You play that out, you do the math, that comes out to about 23% of their childhood that they are in the state's custody. Okay?
And that 8 hours is half their waking life.
Yeah, this is including sleep. You have a good point, right? But if we're just doing 24 hours out of the day, basically by the time they graduate high school, you can claim that you were responsible for your kid at best about 76%. At best. Unless you homeschool or take responsibility in some way. Otherwise, the state has 20% ownership of how your child is raised, if not more, if we were to exclude sleep time, right?
Yep.
And that's sad.
No, don't forget there's a predatory military recruiter in that school.
Yeah.
Feeding them a line of
not
shit.
to mention possible pedophiles, okay? The amount the amount of pedophiles that work as public school teachers is not something to take lightly.
I'm looking at you, short bus driver. What are you doing?
Oh,
you were really late today.
Yeah. I don't know. What do y'all think about that?
The freaking Jimmy Saviles of the world.
That's where you want to go. A daycare, right? You want to be in a Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. You want to be a mentor.
Gross.
You want to, there's all these places for you to go and do your thing. Those are the Boy Scouts, whatever, man. Let's go camp for a week, guys. Come on.
Oh,
no
boy.
Cameras. It's nature time.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't have a cell phone service.
So Think Change Repeat says, she's a fan of Ron Paul. She says, as Ron Paul says, we are a nation that, and maybe a world, who are financially and morally bankrupt. I think what we need, or what we see now, is a direct result of that. An entire generation of lost people. Again, maybe part of that is because we let the state take up 20% of our kids' time and pump them full of stupid shit, stupid ideas. And Stella says, took a while, but they trademark, which I kind of like, have the patience of saints, those demonic bastards. Okay, well said. Yeah. Some dark forces out there, y'all.
I feel like they had to wait till the World War II, the Greatest Generation, was all gone out of the way or something a little bit. The ones who'd seen the bullshit before. I don't know if that's part of it, but
there's so many
that's
different.
a big part. I
There's
think
so
that's a
many
big part
different
of
parts
it.
at play right
the
now.
ball got dropped somewhere. Like, people would not stand for this. I thought.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, you would have thought.
Parts at play right now, manipulating everything. It's just chaos bumping into chaos right now, and it seems like it's chaos, but it's like planned chaos. It's like, so they kind of already know, like, some of the outcomes of some of the things that they're doing, and they're just throwing it all together. And you can usually tell when they're scrambling for the next psyop, is you have crazy thing after crazy thing after crazy thing happening in the news, and they're just
Project
throwing
Bluebeam.
everything. Yeah, they're just throwing everything in the news media at you.
They're shaking the Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah,
true.
They're
or
clearing
they're shaking the
your
ink line
RAM.
even.
They're flushing out so you can't keep
They're
up with what
they're
they're really
throwing
doing.
everything, trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks and see what the next thing people are going to be outraged about is. And sometimes it's a grab bag. You never know what it's going to be.
So,
Yes.
if we can,
Look, two stupid Furbies.
If you
Two
guys
political
haven't
Furbies.
seen it already, this was going to be.
I saw this one. I haven't actually watched it yet.
if we can transition here, this is what our government looks like right now. This is hilarious and also terrifying.
The Monsters 2023
And now-
lit, y'all.
Right.
I'm standing next to the president again, next to a collapsed bridge here. And he is here to commit to work with the governor and the delegation to make sure that we get this fixed quick, fast as well, too. This is a president that is committed to infrastructure. Yeah, and then on top of that, the dual kind of a law of the inflation bill that is going to make sure that there's going to be bridges all across like this, all across America getting rebuilt.
Yay, government! Yay, government!
Oh my.
Yay! Okay. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But can we watch it just one more time?
Please.
Because my God, like
That was
Turn
so
down the
nice.
lights.
Senator, guys,
Like,
everybody. Pennsylvania. That's my
so
senator.
good.
like
I'm so
what?
proud.
Like what, dude? Like say what?
And now I'm standing next to the president again, next to a collapsed bridge here. And he is here to commit to work with the governor and the delegation to make sure that we get this fixed.
Delegation.
You guys remember? You guys remember the Wayans dude on Damon Wayans on A Living Color? He had like the pickle jar with like and he'd be like, "The proclamation, the delegation of the constitution of constipation."
Hooked on
Jailhouse
Ebonics.
lawyer character or whatever. I
Yes,
don't remember.
hooked on Ebonics. That's
Hooked
what
on
it was.
Ebonics. That's this
Hooked
man,
on
dude.
Ebonics.
I'm trying
Living
to
Color.
emasculate. No, I'm trying to masturbate my ideas out into the open so I could properly conjunctificate my ideas.
I think about Ricky from Trailer Park Boys, who can't quite say anything right. We're gonna refuculate the Skace carburetor. Like every word is wrong, dude. This is it's a tragic comedy, is what we're watching here.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Yeah. All right, let's finish it out one more time because it is so unbelievable.
To make sure that we get this fixed quick, fast as well too. This is a president that is committed to infrastructure. Yeah, and then on top of that, the dual kind of a law of the inflation bill that is.
I think he was trying to say infrastructure.
Going to make sure that there's going to be bridges all across America getting rebuilt. And now I'm standing next to.
Okay, that's it. Enough of that. But holy shit.
Like they can't even get that.
He looks like Biden's horribly fucked up CRISPR gene baby.
Seriously, I think they might be clones, just like a real fucked up clone. Did y'all see this where Joe Biden's talking about fucking pistol braces? Dude, okay, this is
great.
This is absurd. Yeah. All right, here we go. Yay, government.
Made it harder for people to buy stabilized braces. Put a pistol on a brace, it turns into a gun.
Not a gun.
Caliber weapon, higher caliber bullet coming out of that gun. Made it harder for people to buy stabilized braces. Put a pistol on a brace, it turns into a gun. Makes it more. You can have a higher caliber weapon, a higher caliber bullet coming out of that gun.
No way! It can change the caliber.
It makes it more of a gun, and it makes it a gun, and you can shoot a higher caliber bullet out of the gun. Yeah,
it's going to increase the demonstration.
Yeah. So, yay, government! Yay, government! We are being ruled by very competent, very coherent motherfuckers. Okay, obviously.
Oh God.
Severe summer of high caliber Chicago stuff.
It's the demonstruction of my phallus. My sphincteration.
Consternation. They've been fellatiating venereal constipation.
There might be some chlamydia in those words, my friend. Very good.
I do believe there are.
Oh my God.
It's stuck to the screen right now.
Okay, so can we all take bets how many votes Joe Biden gets next election? I'm thinking like
95 million.
I was gonna say 100 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Go big or go home, right?
It's going to be a global
because when 150 real people million vote against them, they're going to have to vote. They're going to have 400 million
run
people.
against him. So I would have to see who his competition is before I make an estimate.
I got conflicting info. Like one poll shows Biden trouncing RFK Jr. and I just saw another that shows RFK Jr. on top of both Trump and Biden.
Crazy town.
I like RFK for his book.
I like RFK, but I don't I'm not wholesale like trusting this dude,
Yeah,
you know.
like,
But he's
a
my
little
kid's
bit
vaccine
too
injured.
trusting, it seems,
And
of
he's
the
the only guy that's talked
establishment
about
still,
that.
which you wouldn't think, but
Besides, like, you know,
I just find it
Ron Paul's cool.
strange. The whole
Yeah,
thing with
Ron Paul.
RFK. The only thing that I find strange about all of that is that, okay, so he is a huge proponent of the fact that the CIA basically killed his uncle. And so he knows the inner workings of how all of that pans out. And yet he is still wanting to jump into the fray and be a part of that system. Somebody please make that make sense.
I would absolutely. That's like it's what you have to do. I mean, yeah, I would sacrifice myself to fucking prevent. If I could go back 3 years and stop the lockdown by fucking blowing my brains out, I would have done it. I would do it right now. I would travel back and do it right now.
Don't say that. We want you, man. We want you.
No,
to be
but you know
around.
what I mean? Like, if I could have stopped it and been in the way of it, I would have died like the African presidents and so on and etc.
Yeah, there
and
were
so
people who died for that, and
yes,
his
people absolutely
ancestors,
died for
his
resisting it.
ancestors are people. Like, it's in his
And
genes. It's in his.
they're not
family.
losers. They won at
They
life.
put themselves out there in a way that they knew could take them out. You know, so
I don't see how, even if he did get in and got anything, and if he got in there, if he got voted in and he became the president, I still don't see how they would still allow him to do the things that he wants to do, because the things that he wants to do are not in line with the World Economic Forum and Council on Foreign Relations and all those people pulling the strings and making things happen. They'll allow him to enact some things, but I don't
think
see
they'd
them
allow him to
allowing
become
him to
president.
make a difference.
Sorry, I talked.
And
over
yet
you.
that political will exists, and so therefore they have to find an actor to give us that feel good. Oh yes, he's gonna save us, and then he'll just ban all the guns, and we'll go to the concentration camps or what. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust anybody anymore.
I think
trust
they'll probably
Ron
just
Paul.
rig the elections and try to pass it off and pacify the people. You know,
This is why
Like Jan 6.
This is why I put all my stock in Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
Really?
Steven Seagal is really crooked, but I still love him. Like the stuff
There's
he
something
says.
wrong with that
real
dude,
strong
really?
man.
He's the
No,
law.
I
and
joke.
justice
I
man.
joke. I joke. But I saw this earlier. We
It's
covered
the oil company, bro. Fuck
we
you,
co-
Rockefeller. Snap your fucking.
we covered Steven Seagal in depth, like on one of the first WTF forums, and I saw this today, and it made me laugh. So I just feel like I should bring it up. Steven Seagal has described himself as 1,000,000% Russian.
This guy is like the Donald Trump of martial arts.
He is. It's like too bad that him and Trump aren't good friends, because he went with Putin instead of Trump, and I think it sent like a ripple through the space-time continuum, because this motherfucker grew up in fucking Michigan, and I'm pretty sure he's like half Jewish and like maybe half Russian, but like barely, and apparently him and Vlad are like best buds, and I love it. I fucking love it. I don't know why I had to bring that up, but at least somebody on this planet knows what they want and what they stand for, and that person is Steven Seagal.
Afro Man 2024.
That's
I can't let this opportunity go past. I cannot. And also, where the fuck is the dude that was giving us the updates about the destruction of our supply chains and our food? Where's Ice Age Farmer?
Did he fall off the map?
Yeah.
Really?
And do I
He's
have to
doing the
twist
same.
your arm like Steven Seagal to get you to admit we're under siege too?
Oh, Under Siege 2. T-double-O. Hey, we have yet to introduce OG Dad Bod, but I'm glad you're here, man. What's up?
Oh, I'm trying to practice some of that stuff that I preach. Covered in oil. First oil change is never the funnest.
Where you at right now, man? You've been traveling around.
Yeah. I made it back to Tennessee on Tuesday, and I'm back on the being serious about the job hunt. So
Okay.
That's the
Yeah,
wrong kind of oil for the purposes of this conversation.
It is. It is. It was still nice and dark though, so it probably could work.
But bro, where'd you go, man? You went like from Texas, where we saw you, some of us, and you went like what, through Utah? How far did you get?
So I left Chile, and we went to Austin, right? And then I left, drove through West Texas, made it to Roswell, hit Santa Fe, Albuquerque, went over to Sierra Vista, Tombstone, Tucson, Kingman, Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon. Spent about half a day in Vegas. I understand why people say that's like home of all scum and evil.
Yeah, right.
And then drove through
Sin City,
Nevada.
Sin City.
Yeah. Drove through Nevada on US 93 up through to Idaho, and then pretty much just took that all the way up until I got to Missoula, and then drove across Montana because I kind of, I paid $35 to get in the Grand Canyon. I wasn't going to get robbed anymore by the National Park Service.
Yeah, they'll do that.
And then I went to North Dakota, South Dakota, went to Deadwood. That is a major tourist trap. I thought Tombstone was bad. And then I ended up, went to Minneapolis. Luckily, I did not have to shoot anybody. So made sure I left that pretty quick, and then stayed in Iowa and Missouri, and then ended up in West Tennessee, and then back home. So about 3 weeks on the road. So
righteous. That sounds fun, man. Yeah.
Well, it's really exposed me to how evil government is, with all of the shit they did to Mormons and Indians, and pretty much everybody who's ever defying them. They just come in and crush and kill, and then they get to write the narrative. So
yep, the victor writes the history, man, always. So Ando shared us something kind of different, and I don't know what to make of it here, but check this out. Woman's horror as wildlife cam catches naked witches hosting carcass eating ritual. Coming from The Mirror, which I'm not familiar with. This I wonder if Ando's still out there in the comments, but I'm not going to put a lot of stock in this, but there's some like weird photos here of naked, apparently witches eating dead people, which I hate to say like goes right along with everything we've talked about tonight.
Well, the one on the left
It
doesn't
also looks
surprise
like
me,
shitty
but
Photoshop or something.
Yeah.
That one looks pretty real, but
yeah,
some of them
kinda
look pretty grainy. The graininess.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to realize what that was. That was behind her. Like, I thought that was like another foot. It's something that she's hanging off her waist.
Yeah, it's another
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
It's
I was
another
like,
person.
I thought it was one of those
Behind
nails,
her.
Whatever it is.
This is weird, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
What is
I
that?
think, you know what? I think it's not
Whoa,
a
with the hand thing. Oh, it's an antler. Maybe.
It's not a human carcass. This is a deer carcass. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or moose or something, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe.
it looks like a fin.
Could be
and
an
a
elk.
tail.
Canada,
It's
so it
got
might
like
be
a
a
lizard
moose.
tail. The fuck?
Yeah. Well, he sent it in.
it's
Ando, if you're gonna send us crazy shit, you got to be on the forum to explain it, because I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
where you at, bro?
He's on a Greyhound. He's on a Greyhound
He's the guy who
bus.
invited me. He's not even
Ando's
here,
like
dude.
just creating these articles with AI.
yeah, probably. Yeah. But we were joking about how funny it would be for him to be on the forum on a Greyhound bus and just like talking mad shit with a bunch of strangers around,
Be the loud guy on the bus.
Yeah.
Yelling
yeah.
into his phone.
Talking about the Illuminati and shit. Yeah.
So this story reminds me of a story someone told me, a member of the IDF. So a guy that lives in Israel. And when he told me the story, he sounded convincing. And then after that, I was like, that was probably bullshit. But then recently I heard about some kind of goat related like ritual and worship in the region. And then this just reminded me of it again. And I just thought about it the other day, but he told me he was walking around in Israel, and he was through the woods, and he saw like a group of naked people with like an altar, and this dude with a giant goat head doing some crazy shit. And I forget there was like an altercation because he was like freaked out by them, and he pulled a gun because like some of them were approaching him. And I don't know if he was making it up or not, man, but it really puts the hairs up on my neck when he was telling me the story. He seemed like he was genuine.
There's
like,
some
that's
weird,
crazy.
There's
that
some
we're
weird,
over here in America, like unlimited weapons and bombs for Jesus, and then over there they're like, the goat says eat the baby's kidneys, it's delicious, you know. And it's like, what the fuck's going on here, folks? Like,
some
Ball worship is still a thing. I mean,
demonic shit, man.
They have that in Israel. It's pretty well known. If you talk to people who lived in Israel,
a hell of a lot of atheists over there.
Yeah, like I always, my joke has always been, oh yeah, I love it. I love to listen to all the people who own the media, like all those Jewish atheists.
Yeah, and I don't want to like say anything against anybody, but I'm just like, they're sold as God's people when it's time to pay for bombs and, you know, whatever.
Yes.
Unlimited
So
bombs.
how are we
They
falling
ran out,
for this?
We got to make more.
Yeah. Why do we fall for all this shit? It doesn't make any sense at all.
And it's the programming that's so deep that when that comes up in a like a religious person from the certain upbringing, like they get violent with you. Like their attitude quickly snaps. Like, boom! How dare you? This is God's chosen people.
Yeah, they won't question it. They won't ask questions. They won't ask anything about it. You know.
The USS Liberty story. I was trying to tell my uncle, I think, and he was like, "Yeah, it was a damn mistake. Those are God's people." I was like, Jesus.
No, they blew the shit out of it even after they got radio transmissions.
After the signal got through.
They knew.
And they knew it, that they finally stopped trying to kill this guy.
Yeah.
I only just heard about the USS Liberty recently, but yeah, what? Israel sunk an American Navy ship, right?
In order to draw us into conflict with their enemy in the region in a false flag attack. Imagine that, right?
There was no such thing as false flags. Stop with the discombobulated.
But if I dance, the building might start falling
sphincteration.
down. I'm a little chunky. I got the dad bod OG.
Apparently, there's one survivor. Like I heard an interview with him recently. One survivor from that incident.
Wow,
it's an interesting incident, and I feel like I'm still trying to warm my the boomers in my life up to that one.
Good luck, man. Good luck. I don't even try.
Right?
I don't even try. I don't. If you're not already halfway there, at least, I'm sorry. You're
yeah, no, they're good people, you know.
Yeah.
There's some things that you start talking about it and they're like, no, it's not.
History is written by the victors, man. Always has been.
If somebody's bothering you, just say Alex Jones.
There you go. Dead people don't testify, by the way. Dead people don't testify.
Mm-hmm.
We found that out with the Ukrainian guy who was going to testify against the Bidens about a week ago.
Well, that was
Magic
supposedly
suicide.
the wife of that person who was also the accountant, but I couldn't find so much as her name anywhere.
Yep.
I tried to research it. It was all based off one story with not so much of a name. I found the name, and maybe I'm just bad at researching, but I found the name of Nikita is the son, but never found the name of the wife, so I couldn't look into it.
So,
does anybody else know about that?
I don't know a thing about that. No. I was going to
I
say.
read through the Epstein lists.
Go ahead.
I basically saw the names we've heard about and not the names we thought would be there. Like, I didn't even see Matt Groening or anything, unless they're doing code names and stuff. It was weird. I mean, I was just searching on Tor or whatever, but yeah, it's strange. Saw a lot of Clinton and a little bit of Trump and a lot of Kevin Spacey, but those are the people we've been hearing about, right? Alan Dershowitz, for sure.
Have they haven't released the whole list, have they?
A lot of names you've never heard of, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of anonymous and a lot of just first names, just initials, stuff like that.
Okay, so the guy who said he had evidence, the tapes, Burisma boss, in alleged Biden bribe scheme, claims to have 15 taped conversations with Hunter, 2 with Joe. And that was as of June 12th. And I think the guy was found dead already. So,
wow.
Bam.
At what point do we just admit we're living in a banana republic? I mean,
yeah.
We don't even get bananas here. Nothing republic.
Like, I know the CIA's done coups on us before, but this one was so fucking obvious, right? Like,
yeah, it was really obvious.
I watched 5 hours of election tampering videos, just like from people giving extra ballots and to, closing off the windows and dragging out hidden boxes of shit.
Yep. And it was obvious. I mean, there was no one could deny it. I don't
The military was
understand
all
how they're
voting
still
Trump,
doing it.
so their ballots were found destroyed.
This is
The
true.
military didn't get a vote.
Yeah.
Well, of course not. They own the military. Like if they're gonna suppress anybody's vote, hey, that's the first start. First stop.
I will say it
So
has
the
to do
only
with
enemy that the
what
U.S.
context
government's really
coming
going to
from.
fight is
Some
us
people
from
come
now on, I
from
think.
like they don't have like I'm blessed that I listen to podcasts, so I know what the fuck's going on a little bit, right? A lot of
Mhm.
people who I know don't listen to podcasts in the same way, and then they don't know where to get their news or whatever. Sorry to interrupt you, man. I apologize, but I wanted to say that. A lot of good people who didn't see it as obvious like we did, I guess. Or as like I did. That's how I saw it as obvious, because I had some way of knowing. Someone told me about Event 201 and stuff like that.
Like election interference aside, like they clearly interfered just by suppressing the laptop story and voting machines and all that, ballot boxes and this and that. Be damned. Like they manipulated that election before it even happened with the narrative. So like who cares what they did beyond that? That's enough. Like they fucked with it. Not that any of us really give a fuck. I would assume like I don't vote. Like I don't have any faith in our democracy, but it's just so blatant that, again, I said it earlier, but it's like anybody, if somehow Joe Biden makes it to the next election, like when he gets 100 million votes, like I want to see confirmation of every one of those votes, because I just don't buy it. Like who's gonna vote for that asshole or those assholes?
I can tell you, Gilbert Gottfried, DMX.
If you
Norm
look at the
Macdonald.
breakdown of everybody who voted, and you have all the people who voted for Trump and all the people who voted for Biden, and then you have all the people who either didn't vote for them or didn't vote at all, the number of people who didn't vote for either party and withheld their vote, that's more people than the population of most countries. And you could actually have your own society of people if we could ever get everybody together to coordinate and in a decentralized way. You could have your own country within the United States with that number of people, because you have 1/3 of the country voted one way, another third voted the other way, and then you have a whole other third that didn't want anything to do with either one of those two.
Right.
And that's the group of people that's gonna
A massive
humanity
vote
survive.
of no confidence.
Yeah. That's the meek that shall inherit the earth. I mean,
Yeah.
the people
And
that
I had a
recognize,
friend-
nobody's worth my vote.
I had a friend. Yeah, nobody's fit to lead other men.
Right.
Least of all, one who seeks to.
Yeah, bingo. Well, okay, so we've been going for 2 hours. I am fresh out of topics, but I'm happy to open the floor up. I don't know if Rob's got anything more. You said you had some shit, but if anybody's got a topic they want to cover, we can hit it.
So let's go forward with some more Biden fun, shall we?
Okay.
All right. So as of March 2nd, Russian billionaires who shopped for U.S. property with Hunter Biden and dined with Joe to dodge sanctions. Is that a Russian collusion? A little bit of Russian collusion going on there, I think. A little bit of Russian collusion, I think. Right? Anybody?
Could be. I thought they were in bed with Ukraine, but I guess both. Yeah.
Yes. The answer is, who are they in bed with?
Had,
Yes.
the Uranium One deal with Russia.
Rosmatov or something like that. Yeah.
And what was it Obama said? We'll be able to work with you after the next election?
Yes. But that's not Russian collusion. No. Not even a little bit.
I don't know who said it originally. Some people think it was Marx. Some think it was Goebbels. But accuse your enemy of what you were doing as you were doing it to sow confusion. Something like that along those lines. That's what I see all the time. Like
Machiavelli
in our face
and
at this point, yeah.
Alinsky used that. Accuse your enemy of what you do. So we are through the looking glass at this point with this stuff. I mean, and the people are still believing it. That's what's really bothering me. It's just unreal. Unreal.
They participated in a massive cult death cult fucking ritual. So like they're invested in whatever they have to. They're like a gambling addict who needs to hit big for redemption. They can't get away from the machine.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just I'm spitballing. I'm gonna go get some coffee.
So weird.
I think that's the psychology. That is a good part of the psychology.
They program you.
So they are programmed.
I've been reading Kurt Vonnegut's Player Piano book from back in, like, I don't know, 40s or 50s, probably something like that. But it's about like a big machine that does all their thinking and calculations for them, and it's just like it's an early AI. It's fun, and Kurt Vonnegut has like a humorous way, a good way of putting things where it's just an entertaining book to read. But
Vonnegut was
very poignant at this point.
He was the GOAT, bro. He was the greatest of all time, and I only say that as a biased Hoosier. He grew up in Indianapolis, and his dad was an architect who left a big old fingerprint on this city. A lot of the big buildings were designed by Kurt Vonnegut Sr. Jr. was the author. And I don't think I've read, what'd you call it? What was that one?
Player Piano.
I've got the whole box set, but I have yet to go through it all. But anybody who has not read Harrison Bergeron needs to read that.
Nice short one.
Dude, it's like 5 pages and it'll melt your brain, right? Vonnegut, even though like he was kind of like socialistic, like as a person, as a individual, like when he spoke about politics, he was kind of left leaning, but his writing all comes across as very like dystopian, like anarchist. Like he was as afraid of like big government as anybody.
I haven't seen much that he said that I actually disagreed with.
Right. Me neither. He was very anti-war. He hated George W. Bush. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think he swung a bit left, but he didn't really. He was an ambiguous kind of guy, kind of hard to pin down, but his writing is very poignant, like you said.
Yeah.
One
of my favorite quotes is one of his, and it's something along, I might butcher this, but it's like, all right, let me try to get this right. I put myself on the spot. Sorry. imagining creation without God is like imagining a tornado going through a junkyard and producing a functioning 777 jet or something like that, right? Like you can't, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And
Like-
even though he seemed like sort of more, like you were saying, maybe less of a believer or whatever, I thought that was a pretty cool quote. Like, it's a neat way of thinking about the conventional evolution.
Mm-hmm. Nothing happens by accident, maybe, you know? I don't know. Yeah, he's a character. I love Vonnegut. He's my top 3 or 4 authors for sure. Maybe top 2.
I also like the Dickens.
I was gonna say Ed Abbey. Ed Abbey's my favorite. But anyways, who's any other topics before we wrap her up? Anybody got anything?
I did hear something on the radio the other day, Mike. Some Christian radio when I was scrolling, and it was saying that certain African Americans are wanting Texas to be given to them as reparations since it was the last state in the Union to free the slaves. Sit on that one for a minute.
Yeah. Well, happy
Do they have
Juneteenth.
Brazil too?
Happy Juneteenth, y'all. That's tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is a story. That is a story that should be understood. The story of Juneteenth. Yeah, like, so slavery was made illegal. And it took how long? Like a year plus? Like,
It was like 18 months.
18
something
months
like that.
before the last slaves were finally freed because nobody told them, you know? and
They were using AOL and dial-up. That's what it was.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like it shows the importance of free flow of information, right? When you control information, you control people.
Yep. Yeah, you think about back in even in the Civil War days, even in before those times when people were trying to get information about what was going on in the world or just what was going on in general, they had to wait. They didn't have it at their fingertips like we do now. We have the sum of all human knowledge at our fingertips. Even as censored as it is now, we are still able to look up information and verify things with some regularity. And back in the day, there was somebody had posted something on Twitter. It's like, when I was growing up, if somebody told me that, something crazy, I just believed it because, I didn't have any way of verifying that. And I just went on believing it for 20 years. And then come to find out I was wrong. I was misinformed. And, so it's really easy to see how people could have been manipulated into believing what they were reading, because that was the only way to get their information. And now we really don't have an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse anymore. It's a choice at this point. If you don't know what's going on, you have only yourself to blame because you have every opportunity to look it up right now and understand. So
Makes me think about how the word disinformation, I'm pretty sure, was like invented in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like there is a legal definition for misinformation, to misinform.
Yeah.
That is a lie. That is a blatant lie. But disinformation is kind of hard to define. It's broader, which is why they've thrown it around willy-nilly.
I think the difference between misinformation and disinformation is the intention. I think with misinformation, a lot of it, people can be misinformed, but not maliciously so, not for malicious purposes. Whereas disinformation, I believe, is the same thing as misinformation, but there's a malevolence behind it. There's a ill intent behind disinformation, where somebody's telling you something that is wrong for the express purposes of misleading you. Whereas misinformation is more of a accidental, inaccurate information.
So if like a hypothetical pharma company were to hide harmful side effects and tell everybody to take their product anyway and say that it was safe, then that would be disinformation.
I believe so,
right?
yeah. That would be a more accurate
Man,
word to use
good
than
thing that never
misinformation.
happens.
Yeah.
Boom.
All right. Any final topics?
I got nothing.
I got chickens.
Good.
Meat, yeah, chickens are great. Everyone should have chickens.
That's a good
I
topic.
would, but my dog keeps eating them, so we have to wait till my dog
Oh
dies.
my god! I think my dog might have gone after, because of fighting the rooster, might have gone after one of the hens by mistake.
Yeah.
Because I saw a hen limping, and I don't know why. So
I tell you, you don't need television if you have chickens.
No, you
It's,
don't.
it's a nonstop soap opera.
yeah, as
A
soon as I
mile a
moved out
minute.
to the country, I had put my animals out in the yard and I fenced them in, and just like go out and spend time just watching them. It's like that Animal Planet TV, but it's way better, bro.
It's exactly what we did for Father's Day today.
What we need.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Put up the camping
We need
chairs around the
nature.
chicken pen.
Just watch. Watch the drama unfold. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're new chickens too, so we kind of got to keep an eye on them and the dog.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a thing. You know.
I did a pretty good job of training my dog to like not kill the chickens, but there were a couple of times where a chicken would get out, right? Would like fly the coop. and I was so proud. I was so proud as a dog dad, because like a chicken would get out and I'd be like, holy shit. And my dog would like come with me and we'd corner, we like worked as a team, man. We'd corner the bird. And there were a couple times, man, he would like jump on the bird and like pin it down with his chest. And like he knew he was not allowed to put teeth on the bird.
Nice.
He'd pin it down, and I'd run over there and grab it, and it's like, good boy. That's a fucking good boy.
That's awesome.
Is it a German Shepherd?
No, dude, he's a little mutt, man. I think he's part Shiba Inu, part Chihuahua, but like he's a smart little motherfucker. Yeah. I wish I had him, and I guess Recycle Bin Laden. I wish I had him at Childeberg. I had him there last year.
Oh man,
but not this year. Yeah, he's a good little dude.
After Childeberg and seeing somebody run their dogs around the whole time, I was like, man, I should have brought my dogs. Damn.
Yeah, it was a way friendlier environment for dogs. So, just short story. Last year at Childeberg, I brought him, right, and there was this guy, and he's actually kind of like known in the community. He trains dogs. He trains like self-defense canines, and we were all down at the river swimming, and Doc was off leash just doing his thing, and I'm like, he's being good. So I swam because I like to swim. I swam away, and I get about halfway out, and I hear my dog like barking, and he's trying to play with this like trained German Shepherd. And the guy who owns the German Shepherd was pissed that my dog was like trying to play with his dog. And so I swim back as quick as I can because I can tell there's drama. And it turned into like this thing where it was like, this guy's like, get control of your dog. And I'm like, my dog ain't a fucking soldier. Fuck you.
What is that shit?
Yeah.
What is that shit?
And so I was like, I
Give me a
was
break.
like, that it was the only drama all weekend. And I felt bad because like, like Doc is not a soldier, but he's a good dog. But he's just not like, he sees another dog he wants to play, whatever. And so I didn't bring him this past, to the most recent Childeberg, even though I should have, because it was so much more dog friendly. And like, there wasn't that attitude that dude didn't come back. So, whatever. Long story short.
I imagine he spent a lot of fiat on dog training for his mutt, and then was like worried it was going to get screwed up somehow by your dog.
Your dog showed my dog how to have fun.
Yeah,
Bastard.
well, that was kind of my thing. I'm like, I'm sorry, my dog is
My dog
way
only
more
supposed to have fun by heeding my commands.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You've raised your dog to be a little Hitler youth,
a little Nazi. Nazi dog.
Well, that'll get him showing up at your door.
My rabbit got out through a hole in the fence where it had rusted or whatever, and this rabbit got out, and I open the gate, and my dog goes out, gets the rabbit, and just flushes it right back into the yard.
Yep.
Through the open gate.
Nice.
Smart.
Just
smart.
Wow.
The smartest little. My dog's a German Shepherd, and I was like, oh, I guess that's just.
Surprised he didn't eat
the
it.
dog's gonna help me hunt and
Yeah.
survive if I need it to.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah,
And
I
it
have,
herds
I
my
have a
rabbits
German
and
Shepherd
chickens.
too, and he's useless.
Yeah, they can
She's
be
great.
retarded.
She's always there when my wife's walking around. The rooster used to attack my wife and me for a while, and the dog's always there to jump in the way and like run around it in circles and spin it out. Really cool. And she'll do, like you said, like pin it down, like not really hurting it, but just pin it down.
I'll take that back. My dog isn't completely useless. He makes sure that I don't get attacked when I get up to go to the bathroom.
That's good.
Attacked.
Yeah.
By what? To the bathroom.
Yeah,
What?
you know, just whatever, you know,
Oh.
Dust Bunny or a little,
Boogeyman.
you know.
Boogeyman.
He waits patiently outside the bathroom door for me to get out, and then I come back and sit down in my recliner, and he curls up at my feet, and he's good.
My Chiweenie don't give a damn. He's got no boundaries. You could be taking a dump. He'll just jump right on your lap. You're like, what the hell? You forget to close
Mine
the
would
door.
too if I
People
let him
get
in the bathroom
surprised.
with me.
Well, no.
Whenever you
sometimes
hear
my
the
door
home
sticks.
invasion, make for the bathroom. Grab any weapons you can find upon the way, and then your dog will be there. It'll be cool. Be like
There
Shinobi.
you go.
Send the dog out and the sword.
That's right.
Well, you know, I tell you what, y'all, I think it's time to go around the circle and give our plugs. If I have no objections, it's about that time, right? It's getting kind of late. So I'll start. Mike, Easy Peasy Podcast, Hey Duke 2029. I actually finally have gone back through it and edited out all of the typos, and I will be uploading a fresh manuscript. So edition 2 will be less typos. I won't say no typos, but that'll be coming out soon. So easypeasy.ittybitty.tips for all my links. And I'll pass it to Rob.
It's Rob here at the Black Labs Podcast. You can catch me on Telegram, Black Labs Podcast. I am off all other social media, so don't even bother. Just go to Telegram. Stop waiting. Just go to Telegram.
I'm Phytophiliac, make music, and you can hear my stuff on SoundCloud. And sometimes if you catch the right day, you might hear James Evan Pilato play something on his Pump Up the Volume. And I'm on Twitter. You can follow me. I'm at That Powers Lady. And I'm on other social media sites too, but usually Twitter and Media Monarchy and Telegram.
Psycho Bin Laden.
James at Media Monarchy only plays really good music, and he plays quite a bit of your music. He has.
Oh yeah.
Since I joined, heard so much of your stuff, and it makes me wish I was rapping or playing a video game to it. Like it's always really, or taking a ride in my car. It's really cool stuff. She's really prolific. Speaking of prolific people and her, there's Dead Fella to bring up, and the new album coming out. And also, somehow, I get to do a song with him. And the Hyona is in there, tickling the ivories. And so I'm excited about that whenever it drops. Check out MediaMonarchy.com/join.
Hell yeah.
Nice. I'm Bear Snare at thebearsnare.com. And yeah, My Friends Hate Freedom podcast.
Which
I also
was
do music, and Fido, I've checked out your music too. It's awesome because I also listen to Ando's podcasts, and yeah, this has been a fun group to be part of. So thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. And I was on My Friends Hate Freedom recently.
Easy
and,
peasy.
We had a good chat, man. That was good fun.
Yeah.
And OG Dad Bod.
Well, I can finally say I will have a podcast. Whole lot of nothing, but me and this Mac aren't getting along, so it might be a while. Other than that, it's OG Dadbod or OG Dadbod1 and about everything else.
So is the podcast called Whole Lot of Nothing?
Yeah, I figured that would just kind of leave it open to any and everything.
I love it, man. Did we talk
You
about
did.
this?
That was, yep, you mentioned that. I think Saturday night. That was
I was like, dude, I think you were like, I'm like, what kind of podcast would you want? Like, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, a whole lot of nothing. And I'm like, call it that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the Borg fueled conversations.
I was
many of people had.
fucked up, dude. I was fucked up. Yeah, it was fun to see like a lot of the dudes, but I almost felt bad because I'm like, I am too fucked up.
Well, the only thing that matters is you did find the flashlight.
I found the flashlight. I found the bag of weed. I thought I lost like half an ounce of grass. It turned up. It's all good. Well, y'all, it's been a fucking pleasure as always. WTF as usual. Looking forward to the next one. Thanks for joining. And we'll play the outro. Maybe. There it is. Rock and roll. Hey, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know when we'll be back, but WTF, as always. Thanks a lot, y'all.